Welcome everyone. This is Andre's Restart, and tonight we're going to be talking about Nintendo as we tend to do every Monday night. Now, tonight is a Q&A stream, not podcast. It's just me tonight. But there are things we want to talk about. We have this Game Informer interview that a lot of people have been talking about from different angles. There is the Ocarina of Time stuff, which we'll touch on tonight. Or at least I plan. I'm going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about the other angles to this interview. And I think it might be interesting what we talk about tonight in relation to this interview with Eiji Aonuma, because it's definitely going to shape what video comes out tomorrow. I'm fairly certain, unless something crazy happens tonight, I am planning kind of a Zelda video that's meant to discuss kind of like the future of Zelda. But we've kind of talked about that already, but like a few different times throughout the year. So I don't want to just do the exact same thing. But there is this new information from the interview that I think is interesting. So the conversation tonight some of what's said here may end up in the video tomorrow. It may lead me down some pathways that could be a little bit interesting. So we're talking about that and what this may mean for the future of Zelda. But we're also going into this recent Metroid Prime 4 rumor and kind of dissecting a little bit, and also going over some information that Super Metal Dave pointed out today in his video about Metroid Prime 4. Very good video. I strongly recommend you check it out. I actually shared it on Twitter, so go to my Twitter, check it out there. If you can't find his channel, Super Metal Dave 64, he made a great video. And so there's some interesting things to talk about regarding Metroid Prime 4 tonight as well. And then, there's all of last week, which is interesting. The lead up to the Game Awards, the Game Awards itself, and the fallout. So I kind of want to talk about that and just the whole, all of it, right? Like the games that were announced, the things that weren't announced, the fan reception, and I'm mostly referring to the Nintendo fan base, but even some things that came up, like that whole kind of like panel thing where it says, please hurry up. And that happened a few different times, including when our guy, Eiji Aonuma, the producer for the Zelda series, was receiving the Action Adventure Award for Tears of the Kingdom, and his speech was hurried up. Like, we're not okay with that, but so what's the deal with that? And I just want to say, just right off the bat, I don't think it was necessarily targeted at him. It was a very across-the-board thing. But we're going to be talking about all these different things tonight. But it is a Q&A, so it's going to be kind of shaped based off what you guys say in the chat, what you ask me. But my main point here is that these different things I've just mentioned, if you guys don't ask me about it, I will bring it up at some point before I end the stream tonight. And that's the basic plan. If something else comes up, that would be neat too. I will point out something that there's a lot of things on my mind. A lot. But one thing that is, there's several things that have been eating at me too. But this isn't something that's eating at me. It's just something that I haven't talked about yet. And I will. Like I've talked about on the podcast before, but like I do want to kind of go at it. I do want to make a video on this subject at some point and maybe dive a little bit deeper. But there have been a couple different rumors about a Switch 2 reveal event in January. It's just one of those things that, because apparently the sources have a good track record. Now I want to check that I want to look into that more so myself before I make a video on it. But I think it's just one of those things where it's just too hard for me to believe, and that's maybe why I haven't really like gone into talking about it in more detail. But I probably will talk about it like in a more dedicated format later this week, assuming there is another crazy news that kind of sidetracks me instead. So just want to put that out there. And I'll probably mention some of the things that have been eating at me lately eventually. I kind of actually really like doing the Q&As. I know I kind of went away from them for a little bit. And lately I've just been doing them on Mondays because Brandon hasn't been as available. And I do a terrible job of lining up guests for the podcast. So the Q&A is great, right? I used to do it on Thursdays and lead up to Tears of the Kingdom. And it's just been fun to kind of talk about things. Like I like this format because I can just kind of go off and you guys listen to me, and I can kind of have more of a give and take with you guys as well. And one other reason why I'm maybe appreciating the Q&A more now is because I can talk to you guys, and for the most part, chat's not toxic, right? Like, you guys watching, you pay more attention to what I say and what I do, right? I feel that you guys are more thoughtful about what I do, but and I take your opinions more seriously, right? Like, there's not as much trolling in the live stream chats, but like in the YouTube comments, I'm not saying I don't pay attention to the YouTube comments, I do. But what I'm finding is that there's just a lot of people out there. They're just trying to like upset me and get at me, and there are people that are saying things that are just complete lies, but done in a way to kind of insult me or like take away from my point. But they're literally lying, so it's like it's not even sensical. Like I have no problem with disagreements, conversations, debates. Like I encourage that. But when people just straight up lie and spread misinformation to attack you because they're upset for something, it's just not healthy, right? So I appreciate doing the live streams where we can do the Q&A more, because I feel like I can have more of a direct conversation with you guys, and it doesn't get as toxic. Because when I do it in the comments, I will do it, but after a certain point, it gets a little bit too stressful. Like, it just, when you continually read nonsense, it's just unhealthy. And this is not just my own personal opinion, right? Like, a lot of different content creators I've spoken to over the last couple of years, as I've gotten bigger and met more content creators that are bigger, the kind of general sentiment is, they say ignore the comments. But I don't want to ignore the comments, right? I like making these videos because I enjoy the conversation, the debate, the speculation, the theories, and I don't just want it to be one-sided. I want to see people to bring up points that go against my own, or ideas that support my own, but from a different perspective. Like, I want to continue to think about more ideas, learn, and it's just fun that way. It's like building up a puzzle, right? Like, I actually think having debates is really healthy, and I think it's even healthier when you're willing to be wrong. And I think it's something that people need to kind of, as a whole, like, I'm talking about like humanity, right? It's just better for us to be more willing to accept other ideas and be prepared that our idea may not be the best idea, or maybe it could be fine-tuned. And that's why I think having debates and conversations with people who have different ideas is really healthy. Which brings me to I'm going to get to the chat. This is a Q&A, so I should get to the chat. But I do want to say that tomorrow we're doing another live stream. It's going to be slightly later, 8:30. I normally do live streams at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to do it at 8:30, just so we can hopefully get everyone involved. The plan is to do a 2v2. Me, Rob from Rule to Review, Tucker, a friend and someone who co-hosts with Botox Game, has his own channel, and then Botox Games. We're gonna do a 2v2. Rob and I are gonna be on Team 2024. Bo and Tucker are gonna be on Team 2025, debating when Switch 2 is coming out. And I think it's gonna be really fun. And I think the spirit of the debate, like, it's not gonna be like, hey, you're stupid and wrong. Like, that's nonsense, right? But it's gonna be about talking about our different ideas and kind of relating them to each other. And yeah, it's going to be a debate. There are going to be disagreements, but it's going to be done in a meaningful way that's fun, but also respectful. And I think having debates like that is healthy, because it kind of shows that, hey, like, you can have different opinions with someone. You can still be friends. You can still be chill. You can still try and find, truth in whatever it is that may be going on. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to tomorrow for sure. And so I'm making it known there is a debate that's going to happen tomorrow. I will say, though, Rob is a maybe. He has work stuff going on. He can't promise that he'll be available. I hope he's available, but if not, 1v2, baby. Let's go. I'm on Team 24. Here we go. But it's going to be fun, so I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, let me pull up the chat. If you guys could let me know how everything is looking and sounding, I would really appreciate that. And I probably should have asked that sooner, but hopefully, there aren't any issues, but just please let me know. And yeah, let me check with the chat here. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Francisco Garcia, hello. Nishwick Pops, hello there. Deshant K, hello. Samuel talks about games. Good evening. You're currently playing Dragon Gaiden. Okay. Or Gaiden. I think it's pronounced Gaiden, right? Sam, you think Prime 2 and 3 will be dropped at the same time? You may be onto something there. I will say that in terms of the games I've been playing, I finished Mario RPG, I believe, last week, and now I'm working on 100%ing Pikmin 4. But since Monster Hunter Wilds was just announced, I'm kind of hyped for that. And I actually like the idea of talking a little bit more about Monster Hunter on the channel, but I don't feel I have enough of a knowledge base to talk about it consistently. So I might be making a little bit of a concerted effort to play a little bit more Monster Hunter. I have never played Monster Hunter World. I've seen it. I've talked, we've talked about it. I know of the game. I've watched, playthroughs and such, but I haven't played the game myself in its entirety. I haven't owned it. So now I bought Monster Hunter World. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to play it from beginning to end. I'm going to play Iceborne. That's kind of I'm planning to start that project, that personal project, before the end of the year. And I'm also going to go back to Monster Hunter Rise, make sure I finish that, do the DLC, because I'm going to I want to get my Monster Hunter background really up there. One, because I'm hyped for Monster Hunter Wilds, but also I think I might want to try talking about it on the channel. We'll see, especially because I do think there's a great chance it'll be a Switch 2 game. It is rumored. So, yeah, but that's kind of on my to-do list. Like, once I 100% Pikmin 4, I might finish up the Shrines and Tears of the Kingdom, play the Pokemon DLC, and then I'm gonna get started on Monster Hunter World, and then I'll probably finish up everything in Rise, including all the DLCs for both. That's kind of like my to-do list. That's probably gonna get me into January for sure, and then I'm still gonna have games that came out this year that I haven't finished, like Advance Wars and Fire Emblem Engage. I will get to those, but I also want to play out another Code. I may pick that one up unless the reviews are bad. So it's just tough. It's tough playing all these games. I still haven't played Elden Ring, but I will get to it. I will. Anyway, onward with the chat. Hello there, Yvonne. Hello there, Elemental Hero. Hello there, Manish Plays. Hello there, David Haney. Hello there, DE Fox. Hello there, Wyatt. Hello there, Upper Nimbus. Hello there, Zalato. Sam, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Hello there, Having Hope. Hello there, Anthony Smith. Have a good evening. Okay, we have a super chat here. Let's get to some of the super chats. Okay. Turkish Extend. I asked the Spawncast about the January reveal claims. None of them believe we'll see it next month. They think it's March for the reveal. And that's what I've kind of believed. I think we're getting a Switch 2 reveal in March. And I think what's cool about that is if we're getting a reveal in March, you look at how things were handled with the Switch and how it had its initial tease in January. I'm not expecting a long reveal to release window. Like, I'm thinking 3 to 6 months. 6 months is like the long end, and I'm thinking like it may very well be shorter. In other words, if a reveal is happening in March, I do believe we could see Switch 2 like come out like the earliest being like June. Like I maybe May, like it's possible, but like summertime I think is really, really plausible for Switch 2 to come out. It may end up being the case that we have to wait until like September for Switch 2 to come out, but that's still not that bad. So that's kind of like where I've been on that. I'll say that with the Game Awards passing, I would say that the possibility of the January event, like a big blowout event, has become less likely. Now, maybe Nintendo will announce that new hardware will come out sometime in 2024 in January, but there won't be like a big reveal event. Like maybe there's like a teaser trailer, and maybe the big reveal event is in March. Like that's conceivable. And maybe so maybe these rumors aren't totally off. Like there will be news, but it's not quite what they're suggesting it's going to be. And that could be. And if we have a teaser in January, a major reveal in March, and like that lines up with a still relatively early like Switch 2 launch, like sometime summer, early fall, like that's still pretty good. So we'll see. But it's interesting to see that that's what some people think. Having Hope has been a member for 10 straight months. Thank you for sticking around all this time. It's been great having you. Having Hope. I enjoy every video that you upload. Thanks for always keeping your viewers entertained. Keep up the great content. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy the content. So I'm going back to the normal live chat here. Hello, Captain Doge. Hello there, Venetus. Snick snack. You have gone into the bad habit of reading YouTube comments recently, and it's making you lose faith in humanity for real. There's just a lot of nonsense out there. People have all sorts of opinions, but I think a lot. First off, you don't know who it is that's saying whatever they're saying. Behind this alias, right? It could be a 10-year-old kid. It could be someone. Maybe they're 40, right? But they've been through a lot of rough things, like you don't know where they're coming from. But it can get nasty, and it's unfortunate, but that is the case. Hello there, Joycey. I'll let you know who to yell at. Yell at the masses, please. I appreciate it. Matthew Bellarive. Hey, when do you think the next Nintendo Direct will be? Thanks again. Yeah, it's a good question. So I think the safe answer is February, and that's probably what it's going to be, because every February, for pretty much like throughout the entire Switch era, we've gone in a Nintendo Direct. Now, early on, it was a little different. So I would say, you know what? To the Direct archive. Let's pull it up. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I want to make sure I have it right. I feel like there's one year that was a little weird. So I just want to double check here. I'm gonna share this with you guys, so y'all, for everyone watching, you can see what I'm looking at. All right, here we go. Okay, so this year we had a February Nintendo Direct, February 8th. All right, what about 2022? We had a February Nintendo Direct on the 9th. Okay, well, what about 2021? We had a February Nintendo Direct on the 17th. Okay, but what about 2020? And this is where I think we start to see exceptions. There was not a normal February Nintendo Direct in 2020. We had the Animal Crossing Direct on February 2020 on the 20th, 2020. That's funny. And then we had a Direct Mini in March. It was a major Direct Mini, but it was a Direct Mini because they say it right here. So this is the one weird month. But this was also the pandemic year, right? It was a very weird year in general. So I think that's the exception year. There's technically another exception, but we'll talk about that. So we go to 2019, a February Nintendo Direct. Okay. Let's go to 2018. 2018, there's not a February Nintendo Direct. We have a Nintendo Direct in January, a mini, which carries us into March, where we have a major Nintendo Direct early March. But yeah, they had to wait an additional month to get a big extra Direct. But we had a Direct Mini to start off the year. And I do think this is really interesting that Nintendo is willing to have a Direct Mini so early in the year, because maybe that gives some people hope that we could get something early on into January. But the pattern suggests we should expect a February Direct. Like that is what the pattern suggests. However, I'll counter that counter by saying that if Switch 2 is coming out next year, then perhaps our expectations for how Nintendo will handle things is going to be a bit different. And so that's why I've talked about maybe we don't get a normal February Direct. Maybe we get a Direct Mini in February or even January. Like it's hard to say. These rumors of Switch 2 getting revealed in January, like obviously that would mean some type of Nintendo news in January, right? Would that impact a Direct in February in any way, shape, or form? I think it would, because if Nintendo announces Switch 2 in January, then guess what? We're going to have Switch 2 announced in a February Direct, most likely, unless they want to make it just Switch specific. And that can happen. I remember we had some 3DS Directs, in the closing of that generation, the last few years while Switch was coming up. So there definitely can be something like that going into next year. Like this, supposedly 2024 is going to be the big transition year. And so things may be different. And I think that's what's kind of interesting about next year. It's going to be a little bit harder to predict, I think. but February is still probably the safest bet. Like I would say one thing that's at least clear by checking the history that we just went through, that at the latest we will have to wait until sometime in the month of February to get major Nintendo news, because at least in like you just look at literally every year of the Switch generation, even including 2017, we had a major Switch presentation in January, right? So we didn't even have to wait until February to get the major Switch news. System came out March 3rd, so that makes sense. But in 2018, we had a Direct Mini January 11th, so we didn't have to wait until February. But then 2019, February. 2020 was a pandemic year, but even then, we still had a major Animal Crossing Direct on February, which makes sense because that was kind of like the big game for the first half. Like, that was the big news. So, there was still something major that happened. And then just a couple weeks later, we got the March Direct. It was a mini, but it was a big one. And then after 2020, we got 2021, 2022, and 2023, back-to-back years where it's always been in February, the Direct. So I would say the safe bet is maybe we get something in January, but for sure we will have something before the end of February. That's been the case for the last 7 years: 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7. So this upcoming 2024, I think that's a safe expectation. Anyway, back to the chat. Captain Doge, you say everything sounds great. There's this person, I can't see their name, but they're saying it sounds great from Freeport, the Bahamas. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know it sounds great, even from so far away. I appreciate that. Having hope, it looks and sounds great. Thank you. Tony Queen, hello from Scotland again. Still can't sleep. I hope you do get your rest, but thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. RJ Correa, currently playing Halo. Okay, nice. Moonsar, I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2. Okay, I need to get around to that one. The Octopath games have been on my to-do list. I'm trying to make a concerted effort to kind of finish all major Switch games. Like, that is a goal. Hence why I've gone back to Pikmin 4. I want 100%. I saw the credits in Pikmin 4, but I want to 100% all the maps. So I'm in the 5th map, close to almost completing that one. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a little bit more after that. Captain Doge, 3D modeling, nice. Wyatt, Super Metroid has the most interconnected worlds with no warping. Wish the 2D games would return to that design. Super Metroid is a fantastic game. I will bring up Metroid does have warping, but it's pretty darn good. It's woven well, but I understand your point with Super Metroid. Well, Metroid Prime, if we want to talk about 3D games, Metroid Prime, that does it. It's pretty well woven. David Haney, everyone hit that like button. Yes, guys, if you hit the like button, that would be super helpful. Liking the stream would be beneficial. So if you have the opportunity, press that like button. It would help me out, unless you hate me. You can hate me. That's fine. RJ, I'll do my best to keep the Metroid Prime 4 hype alive. Yeah, we're going to be talking about some Metroid tonight, for sure. Yeah, Sam, I have to get around. I want to buy a PS5. I haven't bought a PS5 yet. I would love to play Demon's Souls on there. It's also one of the reasons why I haven't gone to Elden Ring, because I've been thinking, well, I might rather just play it on a better system. So that's kind of been my thinking. Adam Rohn, any plans on getting new sub badges for longer subs? Just wondering. You're getting me to thinking about it, right? I was thinking about adding a few more custom emojis for tomorrow, if I can get around to it, for the debate. So maybe I'll also look into something we can do for badges. I'll take a look at it. I don't want to make any promises, but I'm gonna take a look at it. I probably should update that. So I mean, it makes sense. So thank you for pointing it out. I'll probably get around to maybe doing something for that too. I've heard about Lies of P. It does look pretty cool. There's a lot of Soulsborne or Soulsborne esque games that I want to play. Connor, hi man, how's it going? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. You're doing good. That's good. So, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4 got awards, but what about the Super Mario Bros. Movie? Um, well, I, so I want to make this clear. I didn't watch the Game Awards. I tuned in at the end, to see the last couple awards. I did see Pikmin 4 and Tears of the Kingdom get their awards, and I had heard Mario Wonder won its earlier. And I'm happy about those awards, but I don't know what's going on with the Mario Bros. Movie. I mean, I've heard the Mario Bros. Movie is up for some awards, something. Um, but I don't remember hearing. I don't know what it would have been up for at the Game Awards. Best adaptation. I'm looking here. So the Mario Bros. Movie is up for some Golden Globe nomination, which is cool. Best adaptation, best animated feature. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that it's up for some nominations, and I also, I do have a problem with the mass critical reception of the Mario Bros. Wonder movie, because I watched that movie. I'm picky. Listen, I'm picky when it comes to my movies. I think a lot of things are complete garbage. Like, and before you accuse me of being biased, obviously everyone's biased. There's no such thing as someone being unbiased, right? Anyone who tells you that they aren't biased is either joking or lying to themselves or to everyone. But yeah, so obviously I'm biased in liking the Mario Bros. Movie more. But that's kind of intentional. Like, Nintendo catered the movie to Mario fans, and so critics not taking that into account bothers me. So there's that. But and the point I want to make, though, is that in general I'm critical about movies, and even when it's from a franchise I love, I'm still critical. Like a great example, and I brought this up in a lot of live streams, the One Piece live action adaptation on Netflix. A lot of people like that adaptation. A lot of people. It's very popular. I'm glad that it's been successful, and I'm glad there's a season 2, and I will watch season 2. But I didn't love the One Piece live action adaptation. I liked it, and I put myself through it to see it through. There were some cool story details. But honestly, there's a lot of elements to the One Piece live action that for me were kind of cringeworthy, that literally had me exclaim mid piece like that. I watched it privately, right? So, and I'm not trying to discourage people from not giving it a try. I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it, and I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, but I don't look upon it extremely fondly. It's okay. It's okay to me. I mean, in general, I would say live action adaptations aren't great, especially on Netflix. I think there's a lot of Netflix shows that are. I would say that the One Piece live action kind of measures up to a lot of Netflix shows where there's kind of like a little. They're all a little cringy. Like, they make a lot of jokes that are kind of okay. Like, there's it measures up to a lot of Netflix shows. Not all Netflix shows, but a lot of them. So it's okay. And anyways, I brought that all up just to say that that's how I feel about the One Piece live action adaptation. And I'm a big One Piece fan, right? I would say there may be some recency bias here because I've been more caught up with One Piece lately, but I think One Piece has a strong claim to being maybe my favorite anime. And to that end, maybe my favorite show, because like I watch more anime than I do live action shows. I do watch a lot of live action shows and other things, but anime is like probably the majority of what I watch. So point being, I'm a big One Piece fan, and I can acknowledge that not being that good. Mario Bros. Movie, on the other hand, I'm looking here at the Metacritic, 46%, the Rotten Tomatoes, 59%, the IMDb, 7.1, and I'm like, those are wrong. Mario Bros. Movie is really good, but I just assess it for what it is. And what it is, it's a fun roller coaster. Like it's kind of, it pays homage to like gamers and Mario fans and Nintendo fans, and it's a fun world. It's not meant to be this really deep plot. It's just not. It's something fast paced and cool and fun and enjoyable, and it does that really well. Like, for those that say that Nintendo doesn't know what they're doing and they're concerned about how they're going to handle the Zelda movie, they're not going to handle the Zelda movie the same way they handle the Mario movie. What they did with the Mario movie was a 100% intentional. It came out as planned. In other words, like, this is what they want for the Mario movie. They didn't want to have an incredibly deep story. They wanted to be fast-paced and fun and to appeal to a very large audience. That's exactly what happened. So, yeah, I think the Mario movie is actually really good. I think critics really missed. They really missed the with their reviews of the Mario movie. They just can't take them seriously. Anyway, I see here Netweed is now a new member. Welcome to the YouTube memberships. Glad you're a member now, Netweed. I appreciate that. And you can now use the emojis. And there may be some new ones tomorrow for the debate. So be armed. Anyway, back to the chat. Sam, yeah, I know. I gotta get that PS5. I know. All right, so let's see here. Hello there, Lower Legend. All right, I'm gonna try and find some things. A.B. James. It seems the majority of fans want to go back to a more linear, traditional style Zelda game. You know, I think it's probably a time to start talking about that future Zelda stuff. I think that's wrong. And when I say that, I'm not. I just think there's a lot of people who are very vocal about wanting to go to a linear Zelda game, but I think the numbers are in the sales. Like, 3D Zelda does not compare. Like, linear Zelda does not compare favorably at all to the open world Zelda games. They just don't. It's not close. Like, Skyward Sword HD came out on Switch. Yeah, you could argue that that was maybe an overpriced remaster. You could argue that. I think it still was a good remaster. And it sold like 3.5 million, something like that. I could double check the sales. Let's do that. Nintendo Switch software sales. List of best-selling Nintendo Switch games. I bet if I go down to the 3 million mark, I'll find Skyward Sword. I'm wrong. It has continued to sell. Skyward Sword has had some legs. It is now at 4.15 million. That is impressive. But you want to know what else is impressive? Link's Awakening, a 2D remake, being at 6.46 million, even more so than Skyward Sword. But it also is impressive. Tears of the Kingdom, only being out for a few months, already being at 19.5 million, likely already past 20 at this point if they were to give us the most up-to-date numbers. Actually, with the holidays, way past that. And then Breath of the Wild at 31.15, just on the Switch. That doesn't even count for the couple extra million Wii U. Like, before Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think the best-selling Zelda game was Twilight Princess, which was around 8 million if you account for both Wii and GameCube versions. Like, there's a staggering difference in sales here. So I think that the people complaining about linear Zelda being gone, that I'm not saying that there's not any merit to that. I'm simply stating that the masses, based off sales numbers, clearly prefer Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Now, you can make the argument that, like, what if Nintendo had come out with like another 3D linear Zelda game for the Switch, like a brand new one? How well that would do? I bet it would do better than Skyward Sword HD. I do. And so maybe that's why there's some value in this possibility. It's not confirmed. It's not even, I'm not even sure you should call it a leak. It's just a prediction, but one that I believe. It's my prediction, but others as well, or a theory that Nintendo may be remaking Ocarina of Time. That's linear Zelda. That's the initial linear Zelda, linear 3D Zelda. So, and there were some open aspects to it, but that style of Zelda game is what people are kind of talking about, like that vocal minority. If that comes out, let's say a year or two from now, whenever it does happen, and it does extremely well, like let's say it sells 20 plus million, then maybe that might get Nintendo thinking a little bit, right? Now, I think 20 plus million for a remake is a lot to ask, I think Ocarina of Time is going to have the hype regardless. Like, I do think it'll do well. I think it'll probably I think it probably would outdo Twilight Princess and the initial Ocarina of Time release. Although this will be for Switch 2, so that's not a given. We don't know how successful Switch 2 will be. It's tough to say. But I guess the ultimate point I'm getting at here is that when we do eventually get another Zelda remake of one of the prior Zelda games, how that performs could be interesting. But I think open world's here to stay. But there are some things that could be done that I think will help to appeal more to a lot of the linear Zelda fans. And so with that, let's now get to the future Zelda topic I wanted to kind of talk about tonight. And so we're going to pull up this Game Informer interview. I don't want to spend too much time on this because there are things to discuss, but it's still pretty significant, so we're going to talk about it. I'm also probably going to be talking more about this tomorrow. Anyway, there's a few different questions here that I want to talk about. We're not going to talk too much about the Ocarina of Time stuff because I put out an 18-minute video on Sunday about it. People were mad that I made an 18-minute video, but there's timestamps. You watch what you want. I try to be comprehensive. All right, so let's see here. I don't think we have to read that part. All right, this part's important. All right, here we go. All right, can you guys see this? Yes, you can. Okay. The Tears of the Kingdom plays off Breath of the Wild, but the addition of Ultra Hand adds so much to the core experience. It now feels so integral to the experience and so important to those more casual fans that you mentioned bringing in. With that in mind, do you think we will see Ultra Hand return in future titles? This HF stands for Hidemaru Fujibayashi. When we're creating a title, say Tears of the Kingdom, as you mentioned, the crux of the experience in playing Tears of the Kingdom is Ultra Hand and the freedom to create. As you mentioned, that is what Tears of the Kingdom is. So every time we're making a Zelda title, we want to create something new. If, for example, there is any continuation of Tears of the Kingdom and we were to bring in, say, Ultra Hand, then I think to us it would feel like, well, we're just bringing in Tears of the Kingdom as is. What we want to do from a game creator's perspective is create something new. From that perspective, I don't think we'll be seeing Ultra Hand in every Zelda game or anything in the future. Okay. All right. Well, what does Eiji Aonuma have to say? When you're talking about Ultra Hand, that is a really core idea for Tears of the Kingdom, and I think it represents our approach of kind of putting everything we could into this game. First putting all of our ideas in and then being very selective about what we wanted to remain, removing all the parts that we didn't make sense or didn't fit perfectly. This game, then, is the result of that selection process. This time, you'll see that there is no DLC because of that process. We created what we wanted to create and felt that it was complete in that fashion. So from that aspect as well, I think we definitely won't be including Ultra Hand in titles going forward. So this is interesting because basically they're saying, hey, Ultra Hand, this is a very Tears of the Kingdom thing. Like that's what this is. And they explored this concept very much so to its extent, they feel, in this game. So they're not really thinking about bringing it back for future games. So maybe don't expect Ultra Hand in the next Zelda game. And I actually prefer that because, like, as cool as the building stuff is in Tears of the Kingdom, not everyone was a fan of it. And it's a very much Tears of the Kingdom thing. It makes it feel very Tears of the Kingdom. But I don't necessarily want building to become a trademark for all Zeldas moving forward. I think there should be a lot of options and ways you interact with the world. I think that should be a staple. But the interaction shouldn't necessarily be building. I think it should be something that's adaptive and it evolves Zelda game by Zelda game. So I'm glad that it seems like the Zelda team feels the same way. All right, so let's talk about this part here too. In that same notion where you did earlier this year, confirm that there won't be any DLC for Tears of the Kingdom because you already can accomplish everything you want to accomplish with this game. Have you ruled out another direct sequel? Aonuma. Laughs. Well, that would be a sequel to a sequel, which is getting a little bit wild when you think about it. But as I've mentioned previously, with Tears of the Kingdom, we were seeking to build on top of the world we created with Breath of the Wild and really exhaust the possibilities of what we could put into that world. I think it is, to use a bit of a term, I haven't used this term ever, but an apotheosis. An apotheosis. Is that am I pronouncing it correctly? Or the final form of that version of The Legend of Zelda. In that regard, I don't think we'll be making a direct sequel to a world such as that we've created. Let me look up what this word means. I mean, context clues make a big difference, but I actually don't know the word. So, I mean, I've seen it before, but I don't know it. Like I don't use it in my day-to-day language. So, apotheosis. The highest point in the development of something, culmination or climax. Okay. Cool. All right. Apotheosis. And here's where the context clues are, the final form of that version of The Legend of Zelda. So they feel that Tears of the Kingdom is it's the peak for this direction of Zelda. In that regard, I don't think we'll be making a direct sequel to worlds such as that we've created. And I think this is cool. And honestly, this right here is going to have a lot to do with what we're going to be talking about tomorrow in my dedicated video for this topic. But I think this basically tells us they're heading in a new direction for the next Zelda game. Whatever that entails, be it an open Zelda game that has more linear elements, or an even more open Zelda game, or something even more different than what we've discussed here. They're headed in a new direction, and they're leaving Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom behind. And that excites me, especially because we're now going into the next generation. So they're going to create a new engine or refine this current engine with a more powerful system in mind. And that doesn't just mean better graphics and performance, which I am looking forward to seeing, right? I think maybe the next Zelda game should be in 60 frames per second, for example. I think that should be the new standard for Zelda. But it also means that the crazy things that they were able to accomplish with their physics engine and the way you can manipulate the world and how intense that is, and getting that to work on Switch, what they could do with more powerful hardware, oh man, like the sky is the limit, pun intended, but they could do some very amazing, mind-boggling things. Because they've managed so much with the physics and the engines in place for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. That's unlimited hardware. Like, what else could they do or figure with even more powerful hardware? Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom happened because the technology permitted. So what happens when the technology permits something far greater? Like, that gets me extremely excited for what the future of the series could be about. Like, I'm very excited about this. And for those that missed the video or missed the other people talking about it, which interestingly, I'm just gonna point out, I'm not trying to make any claim that this is Game Informer scoop, but no one was really talking about it until after I made my video yesterday on this topic, which is kind of interesting that no one pointed this out. And this article has been out since December 7th, right? So it's been out for 3 days. It's already the 4th day since, right? But no articles were, at least on my feed, I wasn't seeing anyone talk about this, which is why I thought it was a good idea to talk about it on Sunday. And then hours later, everyone just whoa, this thing, let's talk about it. Anyway, so this is the thing. Eiji Aonuma was asked about the Ocarina of Time remake. Thank you both so much for your time. I've heard about how sometimes questions about games can inspire them to be made, so I selfishly want to ask you about a modern Ocarina of Time remake. But I have a feeling I know the answer I'll get. Eiji Aonuma laughs, no comment. And I think what's really cool about this is that he could have denied it. They actually talk about Ocarina of Time a lot in this interview. There's been a lot of rumors and speculation, the anniversary stuff, all that. And instead of denying it or saying nothing like that's in the works or don't expect anything like that anytime soon, he just says no comment. So it's very interesting, right? He leaves hope for us, which is the central point of the video I made yesterday. But I kind of go into more detail and talk about a few other things that kind of make this idea of a remake even more plausible. But it's interesting stuff. Yeah. Anyway, let's let's stop screen sharing for a bit. And let's see what you guys have to say. All right. Connor, you have some more information about Mario vs. Donkey Kong. A new Donkey Kong game, Tomodachi Life finally being on the Switch, and new information about Princess Peach Showtime. Okay. Interesting. NetWeed09. Sad that Tears of the Kingdom did not win, but Best Action Adventure is still a good category to win and still a statue for Mr. Aonuma. Indeed. Best Action Adventure to me feels like the consolation prize for not winning Game of the Year. Wily Tiger, but you know what Fujibayashi, you know why Fujibayashi never went on stage. He's like, if I'm not being handed the Game of the Year award, F that. Maybe. Connor, Donkey Kong Country Returns coming to Switch. New information about Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. Mike Tyson's Punch Out being remastered for the Switch. A new Mario Party game. I don't know where you're getting your information, but I would love to see a Mike Tyson's Punch Out remastered for Switch. That'd be cool. Or just Punch Out. The Wii Punch Out would be really nice. Charles, I think they keep this engine, but with better hardware, they get better resolution, frame rate, and also even crazier fast travel. We just did a plunge of multiple kilometers high sky depth. Like, maybe like instantaneous fast traveling. That would be magnificent. Like, that would be a big difference right there, for sure. Something that bothered me about Ascend, like the kind of like the diving upward like cutscene, sometimes a little bit too long for my liking. Like, it would be nice if it was faster. You know, like, I actually hope we see Ascend in the future. Ascend is something that's like really just about exploration. It makes exploration a lot more fun and streamlined. And maybe limit it somewhat. Like, maybe there's a lot more surfaces you can't surfaces that you can't like ascend through. But it'd be cool that they bring that back and have it so that when you ascend through something, there's not really that much of a cutscene in between. It's very instant. New hardware would benefit that a lot. NetWeed09. I think the next big Zelda will almost certainly be in the realistic style. I don't think they're going to make an even more cel-shaded Zelda game. I think they're going to... I kind of agree that they're going to go for something... I think it's... I like that you put realistic in quotes because it's not going to be... It's not going to be photorealistic, but maybe that they're going to do... They're going to do something that's... It's going to be stylized for sure, but it's definitely going to be... If there's a spectrum, right, where like Wind Waker is one side and Twilight Princess is another, I would say it's definitely going to be more, and in Breath of the Wild's like the middle. It's definitely going to be on the right side of that spectrum, if not even like. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't even be more realistic than Twilight Princess. But it's going to be on somewhere on the right side. Like, there's still maybe a lot of cell shaded. I'm not saying they'll go to get rid of cell shaded stuff, but it's definitely going to be on the right side of the spectrum. I agree with that. With more power, they could definitely pull something off like that a lot better. Having 05. You wish there was an award for best DLC. You think Future Redeem might have won as the best Xenoblade DLC for me. Well, I'll tell you this. Based off the way the award show went, they would have 100% given it to Cyberpunk. What is it called? Phantom Liberty. Because Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty was up for multiple nominations, while Xenoblade Chronicles Future Redeemed, even though it's, according to Metacritic, several points higher, not in any nomination. So I don't think it would have won if they had a best DLC category. But it should win. Future Redeemed is the best expansion of the year. I 100% agree. It's so good. But, you know, Game Awards they're not perfect. Not perfect at all. So, let's talk about that Metroid stuff. Or you know what? We're kind of touching on the Game Awards already. We'll get to the Game Awards stuff. I brought up Metroid, so you know, let's talk about Metroid. All right. So where do I start? Let's start with this rumor. Yeah, start with this rumor. I probably will make some kind of Metroid video later this week. But I didn't make this thing instantly because when I first saw this, I also kind of put it in a little bit of the nothing burger category. But let me share this with you because there's been some updates since. So apparently, Papagino said Metroid Prime 4 has been done and has been for a while. Current delays are due to cutscenes. So what's interesting about this is that if you remember at the beginning of the year, like was it March? March is when I heard it. I sat on the information for a little bit. For the video may have came out April. But that March-April period, I put out a video saying where I put like something along the lines of rumor Metroid Prime 4 is complete. Because that's what I heard. And I sat on it for a little bit. I heard it at the same time, the same event with Nate from Nintendo Prime. And so, I talked about it because I was like, hey guys, I heard this really cool thing. And that's that the game is complete. But in that video, I said, hey, that doesn't mean the game's coming out next year, right? And again, I heard it from one person, right? It's not several sources, one person. One source that I think is really good. It's the same source that told us that there was going to be the Tears of the Kingdom gameplay demonstration on a random day in the week. Was it a Tuesday? And people were like really mad that we talked about it, but it was true. And we told people a few days beforehand because it was true. Yet people were still mad about it. But anyways, point is, same source on that stuff. But people have seen job hirings and have kind of questioned or criticized that rumor because we still haven't seen anything about Metroid Prime 4. But like I said, in that video, I said, hey, we may not even see the game come out this year, right? Like, and at this point, I think it's clear it's not happening. Not this year, but next year is a whole different conversation. But I think maybe where there's some room for oh man. When I made that video, I had to be very careful about what I said, and I think I probably still should be. But let me just say that based off the way things have shaked out now, I think it's been made very clear that Metroid Prime 4, if it's quote unquote done, rumors, right? It's because they may be done with the content, but there's still polishing happening. Very similar to how we heard about after Tears of the Kingdom came out this year, we heard that Tears of the Kingdom actually was content complete the year prior, and it could have come out that year, but instead they focused on polishing for about a year. So I believe that's where Metroid Prime 4 is at. I'm not going to say anything else because I have to be careful about what I can say because of the nature of it. But that's what I think I can say on this. Now, going back to this Papagino's rumor, I just left this up on screen the whole time. Okay, I guess this is the full quote. The thing is, I've heard Prime 4 is basically done and has been for a while, but the cutscenes are apparently really bad, or were a few months ago. So that's what was delaying the game. I do believe Prime 4 will be a Switch title and not specifically made for the Switch 2, but maybe that's changed at this point. I haven't heard. Just the fact that I know it's been basically in a finished state. For a while, with the delay being related to needing to polish up the cutscenes, had me hopeful we could see it soon, but again, so far I have heard nothing about what Nintendo could bring to the Game Awards. So apparently Nate the Hate said that this is inaccurate and that the game's in active development still. So that's what he said. I know Papagenos has had sources before, so I'm not saying that they're wrong. I think it just comes down to interpretation of things, and of course, there's some things that are a little weird. In terms of the cutscenes, it's weird that he's hearing specifically that. Again, I think ultimately though, this is a while ago, and I think if you want to interpret it as anything, maybe it's polishing, right? It just comes down to polishing the game, making sure it's right, making sure it's as good as possible for when they do release it. And the growing sentiment is that Prime 4 is coming out next year. That's not guaranteed, but that's the growing sentiment, right? It to me, it feels very much like Tears of the Kingdom, but 1 year later. Game could have come out this year if they really wanted to rush it out, but instead they're holding it off for a year, polishing it up, making it right. And in this scenario, because they're holding it off for a year, it may as well come out for Switch 2 as well. Maybe it's going to be cross-gen. Maybe they have a Switch 2 version that they've been developing for some time. We haven't heard anything specifically on that. The only thing we've heard from like a visual performance perspective is from the Xbox Era podcast that the game is apparently visually unbelievable, which and big and open, comparable to Halo Infinite, and that's exciting stuff. That, for the record, that's not necessarily open world, right? That's not saying Metroid Prime 4 is open world. That's not what's being said. I'm not saying it isn't. I don't know, right? And based off the way that rumor was, it doesn't sound like they know for a fact either, but there are going to be at least big open areas, and the game's going to be visually impressive. It wasn't specified that was for Switch 2 or Switch 1, just to be visually impressive. So I'm very curious what that means. Hard to say, but you look at how good Metroid Prime Remastered looks on Switch, it's going to look amazing regardless. But there's more to this Metroid Prime 4 goodness, right? It goes beyond just random rumor, because Super Metal Dave put out a video. Super Metal Dave 64. Great channel, great video. And he talked about a few things. One of those things, and I think we've touched on this before, right? But there is there's a job posting of someone working on advanced network troubleshooting and engineering. Online stuff. So it suggests that there's going to be some level of like online something with a game that Retro Studios is working on. We know they're making on Metroid Prime 4. So if you connect the dots, it may be for Metroid Prime 4. Of course, there has been some reason to think that maybe they are working on something else as well. So it could be for that. But when I look at the job listing here, announced by Nintendo January 2019, Retro Studios is currently in the midst of developing Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch. So they mentioned Metroid Prime 4 in the job listing here. It's not necessarily for Metroid Prime 4, but that could be the implication. So there's a possibility that Metroid Prime 4 may have online play. To what extent, hard to say, but there may be something there. I do think that while I think they need to make the best single player possible first, that is a priority. Make a masterful campaign, one of the maybe the future best action adventure. That maybe Metroid Prime 4 wins that award next year, the same way Metroid Dread won it in 2021 and Tears of the Kingdom won it this year. Maybe Prime 4 wins Best Action Adventure next year, or maybe even Game of the Year. But it's going to have an amazing campaign. Like, that's going to be it. That should be the focus. But Metroid Prime 4 needs to sell well, and online multiplayer can really make a big difference for that. So if they can find it in them to add a component like that is healthy and complements the main campaign without taking away from it, go for it. Especially if they can make it good, go for it. A great point that Dave made in his video about this is that Metroid Prime 2, an incredible campaign, maybe a little bit too difficult for the masses, but quality-wise, effort-wise, length-wise, content-wise, like, it was top tier. Like, there's nothing. It was an amazing game. There was nothing about the multiplayer Metroid Prime 2 that took away from the single player. It's the main point here. They made an amazing single player campaign, but also included a fun multiplayer mode. Maybe not a super deep one, but they had something. There's already a history there where Retro Studios put out a Metroid Prime game that had an amazing single player and a fun multiplayer. So it could happen again. And maybe this time it makes a bigger splash. There's a little bit more. Because apparently, Kat Gray, an environmental artist at Retro Studios, let me share this. They're an environmental artist for Retro Studios. That's a big point, right? Work at Retro Studios, they make art for environments. But what's cool here, let me see if I can share this tab. Yep, there we go. They've also made environmental art for Rogue Company, a multiplayer game. They make these maps. So if they hired Kat Gray to make the environmental art for a lot of areas, with this person having experience in making multiplayer maps, maybe they're creating environmental art for multiplayer maps in Prime 4 as well. Possibly. So that's cool to think about. Yeah. Now I'm not going to talk about everything in Dave's video. You can watch that. He talks about he did an AI upscaling for the Metroid Prime 4 art that was released on the Retro Studios Twitter, and it was a closer look at that, which is pretty neat. So check it out for sure. But yeah, that's kind of like a little bit of the Metroid Prime stuff. I think there's a fantastic chance the game comes out next year. Right? I think nothing's guaranteed, right? Nothing is guaranteed. But I think there's a fantastic chance, especially from what we've heard. And there's some semblance of hope that there could be multiplayer, not guaranteed, even less so, but there could be something there. But from what we have heard from the Xbox Era podcast, which I would consider a pretty reliable source there, game's going to be visually unbelievable, which may have been fairly predictable for some of you based on what we've seen of Prime Remastered and just, the pedigree of Nintendo and Retro Studios. So that's kind of the Metroid stuff. I think it's exciting. I think next year is going to be amazing. It's going to be for Metroid fans. It's not guaranteed, but it's going to happen eventually. And it's been a long time. So, that's where I'm at. Also be a fun poll, actually. Samuel, this is a good point you bring up. I think Samuel says, I think Prime 4 is going to be Game of the Year contender along with 3D Mario. I'm in 100% agreement, but I want to see what you guys have to say on that. So, do you guys think Metroid Prime 4 I'm going to go a step further. I think many of you are going to agree it can be nominated. Metroid Dread was nominated for Game of the Year. It won Best Action Adventure. Tears of the Kingdom was nominated for Game of the Year. It won Best Action Adventure. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was up for Game of the Year the year prior. Didn't win squat. Should have, but it didn't. So, high-quality Nintendo games getting Game of the Year, even when they don't sell a lot, when they only sell 2 to 3 million, it's happened. But can Metroid Prime 4 not only get nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards next year, but can it actually win? So that's what I'm going to ask. Do you guys think Metroid Prime 4 can win Game of the Year? Let me know. I think my answer is I got enough hopium to say yes. We're not saying will, can, right? So I think there's a little bit of flexibility there, right? Can means that it has a legitimate claim to do it. Like maybe Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it got nominated, but I think we all agree it had no chance, right? But would we say that Tears of the Kingdom had a chance? I would say Tears of the Kingdom had a chance, depending on the things shook out a little bit differently. If Baldur's Gate 3 was delayed or, something like that, like would Tears of the Kingdom have won? I think a lot of you would agree yes. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, while maybe a lot of us here, was our Game of the Year for 2022. It wasn't. I think all of us agree that it probably, if you take out a couple games from that list. So that's a little different. But Prime 4, do we think that game can be in that conversation and have a legitimate chance that things shake its way? I think yes. But I'm also someone who thinks Prime 4 is going to be something that's going to change the future of the series. And that may be one of the reasons it kind of really pushes it, right? Like the story, I think stories matter for the Game Awards. Look at Baldur's Gate 3, right? You look at where that series has been, a very simplistic style before, a very not mainstream, very, very, very core-centric, small audience, very niche. And Baldur's Gate 3 made that Dungeons and Dragons style game with the complex storytelling and the diversity and what you can do with that. It made it mainstream. And that was huge. It made a big difference. There's a really nice story there. And you go back to Breath of the Wild when it won Game of the Year. It was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch. It kind of spearheaded this huge Switch movement, and it revolutionized, or at least innovated significantly on how we look at and play open world games. Like once you play Breath of the Wild, it's hard to go back, or there's a shift. It changed the standard. A lot of people wanted to emulate that afterwards. It was significant. And so Metroid Prime 4, can Metroid Prime 4 come in and completely revive the Metroid Prime brand? It revives Retro Studios. It shows that, hey, Metroid can be a big deal, and not just for a couple million people. Maybe the game does sell 5 million, or dare I say, it can even approach 10. Or I don't know. I don't want to place a limit on it, right? I know a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no way," but we were just talking about earlier today. Breath of the Wild, before Switch came out, like the best-selling Zelda game was 8 million with Twilight Princess. So why can't Metroid Prime 4 also come out early on Switch 2 and see something similar? I'm not saying Prime 4 is going to sell 30 million, but what if it reaches a new height for the series where it multiplies its prior record by 2 or 3 times, where we see something that sells somewhere between 5 and 10 million? That'll be significant. And so, if they do that, if it comes out with a single player that just really is unrivaled in terms of immersion and exploration, and it delivers this kind of otherworldly action adventure experience, like, maybe it can. Of course, 3D Mario, I think it will also be in that conversation. Maybe 3D Mario takes it. I think it's interesting that with Grand Theft Auto 6, I'm actually kind of, I don't want to guarantee I'm going to buy Grand Theft Auto 6 because I'm not a big Grand Theft Auto guy. But I think with Grand Theft Auto being set in Miami, I'm from Miami. I live in Miami currently. It appeals to me a little bit more. There's a little bit of a culture thing there. Now, there are some things I think maybe make Miami seem a little crazier than it actually is, right? Or South Florida. There's a lot of that stuff. But point is, I am a little bit interested in that. But that's coming out 2025. As is Monster Hunter Wilds, which I'm very excited about and will be buying no matter what. Those games are coming out 2025, and those are both probably going to be Game of the Year contenders. So, I think it's interesting, right? Like, it may be the case that Prime 4 will have a strong chance to win. I mean, you look at some of the games that have won Game of the Year. It's not always the best game ever. It's just what's assessed to be the best game out of the games that came out in that year. So if you want to make the argument, oh yeah, sure, Prime 4 can win because 2024 may be a weak year, then, whatever. But I would say that if Prime 4 were to win, I mean, obviously I don't know what the game is, but I'm just kind of thinking about the other Prime games, like if it's similar quality, something like those, it would at least be, it wouldn't be the worst game to win Game of the Year. I'll say that. Zelda. Oh, so you're a Florida man. I don't necessarily like that phrase. Just because I think Northern Florida, Central Florida, South Florida are all very different. And like living in Miami is very different from other places. But also I live in the suburbs, right? I live in Kendall, West Kendall, so if any of you know what that is, right? Like, that's different. I don't live on the beach. I don't live in South Beach. That's an island off of Miami. It's cool. It's like a 30-minute drive for me, depending on traffic, maybe 25, 35, right? It's just, there's a lot, right? And there's the Everglades. I don't live in the Everglades, right? I don't see crocodiles outside in my backyard. I live in the suburbs. Like, like it's pretty chill. But so it's just, there's just a lot of different cultures here, right? So I guess I just don't want to boil myself down to I'm a Florida man. Like, I don't think that really matches who I am at all, or even the environment I live in, because there's just a lot of flexibility there. Lex, everyone from Florida school, don't worry. Okay, I will not worry. Let's see, a guy you don't know. At this point, it's impossible to say if Prime 4 can get nominated, let alone win Game of the Year, when we still don't know anything for a fact about it. All we can do is hope for the best outcome. Right. I mean, I don't disagree with your point. It is impossible. I don't think it's impossible. Well, it's impossible to know. Like, there is a lot. It is tough to gauge. But the argument I'll make is, first off, Nintendo, right? Like, when Nintendo spends a long time on something, in general, it's good. That's a good bet. But good doesn't mean Game of the Year. However, I want to point out that we do know about Metroid Primes 1, 2, and 3. And from a critical acclaim perspective, they are all in that conversation for Game of the Year. If Metroid Prime Remastered wasn't a remaster, if it was considered a new game, that 94 Metacritic, that would have put it in the top half, maybe, of the Game of the Year nominations. Like, not just a nomination. It would have, I don't think it would have won, right? I think Baldur's Gate 3 and Tears of the Kingdom would still be above it, but it would have been in that conversation, and perhaps even more deserving than Mario Wonder. Yes, Mario Wonder is a very popular game. It's a great game, but if we're talking about Game of the Year, I would say Metroid Prime would be better. Granted, it's a remaster, so it kind of loses points for being a remaster, I guess, right? Or just it's completely disqualified. But I guess my point is, like, that's the pedigree that Nintendo's trying to match. When they had the delay video back in January 2019, they said they wanted to match the quality of Metroid Prime 4. That was the claim, the promise, the goal. So that's kind of what they're aiming for, and they're clearly taking their time with it. And to me, that suggests that they're making sure they hit that. So I'd argue, especially with Prime Remastered being so fresh, that if they took their time with this, they invested their proper resources, and they made it happen, and it measures up to their goal, it will be comparable in quality to Metroid Prime Remastered, but even more modern and advanced. And so, with that in mind, I don't think it is a stretch to think that Prime 4 will be in that conversation. Of course, maybe it's nothing's guaranteed, you know. It's true. It may Prime Remasters a 94, but Prime 4, it comes out as like a 91 or something. Like, it's still great, but like people aren't as in love with Prime 4 across the board. Like, there could be a little bit of that. Like, yeah, that's possible. I'm not on that train, though. And even if it's a 91, that's still really good, right? Like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that's kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 territory. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was my personal game of the year in 2022. It's an amazing game. So if Prime 4 is even that good, I'll still be okay with that. But I think Prime 4, I'm saying yes, if that's not painfully obvious. RJ Correa. Florida's basically Terminator with the different worlds. There you go. Netweed. Oh, you don't. Netweed says, "Oh, I don't think 3D Mario can do it, Andres, unless they actually give us this rumored open world platformer. Then it could." Well, I mean, Mario Odyssey did it. And that wasn't open world necessarily. I think the Galaxy games would be deserving. So I would say yeah. Zalato. Next fake news. YouTuber fight alligator in the middle of a stream. Bruh. Hey, if I need a stream to go viral, maybe I should invite a gator. I'm not going to do that. But that'd be funny. Will Post Booster. Prime 4 is a better chance next year over 2025, certainly. I think GTA 6 is going to be tough to beat. I see that game probably going over really well for a lot of people. And I'm interested. I'm actually interested. So we'll see what happens there. Wilberforce seems to agree. Super Mario Galaxy probably would have won if the awards existed then. Yeah, so I think 3D Mario, even if they don't go open world, like I think it's fair to say if they would be in that conversation. But I mean, we don't know what direction they go in, right? Like if they make it more like a 3D world, then I would say no. But if it's something like Galaxy 1 or Odyssey, then I would say yes. But of course, I am hoping for something even better than that. Yeah. Why Tiger? I'll only watch a GTA 6 stream if Andres hosts it. I'll keep that in mind. Sometime I thought about doing more game streams, and I've done a couple of them recently, and it's always different, you know. It's always different streaming a game versus just talking. Because I want to talk, and so they kind of get in the way of each other a little bit. And I do enjoy playing my games privately. I'm not saying I won't stream some games. I've done it. I did a couple of Mario Wonder streams. I did do that. So maybe I'll do more. I've thought about, like, I mentioned earlier in it's not a podcast, but in this live stream that I would like to, that I'm kind of focusing on trying to beat every game that's come out on Switch from Nintendo at least. And so, or There are some games I want 100%, like Pikmin 4, but and there are some games I'm just satisfied with, like, getting to the credits, like Mario RPG, for example. I did a lot of stuff. I didn't do literally everything. Like, I didn't find, like, there are these ghosts that they ask you to find something. I didn't do that. But, you know, I did most things. If there was a mini game, I made sure to beat it. You know, like, I did as much as, like, I did a lot. Point is, though, is that I'm not going to 100% every single Nintendo published title. I will 100% some of them. It's kind of like a, you know, case-by-case basis here. But I've thought, okay, if I'm going to focus on doing this, maybe I could stream that sometime. Maybe I could keep you guys updated. Like, okay, these are the games I still have left to like beat or 100%. And so that might be kind of fun to kind of track, especially if like we enter this kind of window where we're on our way to Switch 2. And so maybe there'll be kind of like a bit of a challenge for me to like beat every Nintendo published title before Switch 2 comes out. That might be kind of neat. So I may do that. Anyway, I think a couple things I want to touch on. We're not done yet, right? We're still going to go on for maybe another 15, 20-ish minutes. But I said and more. So before we get to the Game Award stuff, I want to talk about this Smash stuff. So apparently, no, it's not even apparently. It's confirmed. Like, there are Smash Ultimate 5-year anniversary plans. There's a Spirit event. There's going to be a Spirit event in January as well. The Sora Amiibos coming out February. But there was a rumor coming from Zippo, which I don't take too seriously, but it's interesting. They talked about Smash anniversary stuff for the 25th anniversary of the original Smash from N64. And then, like, shortly afterwards, Nintendo announces a Smash Ultimate anniversary plan. It may have been the case that was kind of timed because, you know, it was a solid prediction that they may announce something for that. I'm not putting too much stock into it, but there is in this conversation like, oh, is Nintendo working on something for Smash here? We've seen that Bandai Namco is hiring for, I have it up here. Yeah, they're hiring for a side view action game, like Studio 2 and Studio S. So not just a 3D action game, but a side view action game. Would we define Smash Brothers as a side view action game? If you're being very loose with your definitions, yes. I mean, it's a side view game that does have action. You might qualify as a fighting game and not an action game, but fighting and action they're very, like, obvious. Fighting is action, and action can be fighting. So, considering that Bandai Namco has worked on Smash, and they're probably going to work on something Smash for the next system is reportedly coming out next year, then, yeah, there's a great chance this hiring is for Smash Brothers. So I do think they're working on something Smash related, but the question is, could they announce something Smash related for the 25th anniversary next month or in a February direct? I think there's a possibility they could announce some DLC plans, but I think more likely they're probably going to come out. They're going to save their Smash efforts for the next system, whatever that is. And maybe they announce another Spirit event. Maybe they make mention of it on social media. But I will say, in the chat, in the comments in today's video, Kieran Buckley said that suggested Smash 64 for Nintendo Switch Online. And I actually really like that idea because Smash 64 is such a popular N64 game, yet it's not on Nintendo Switch Online yet, which I find very weird. So, and revealing that or announcing it maybe in January or February for the 25th anniversary of Smash Bros., I think would be very suiting. So I almost want to make that a prediction. I think I want to predict that in either January or February, Nintendo will announce Smash 64 for Nintendo Switch Online. They will actually, like, not just announce it, they will release it for that platform. So it's kind of cool. But that's speculation. We'll see what actually happens there. So going back to the chat. Super Chris, Smash is a fighting party game. Your parties have action. Wilberforce, bring back real Smash Bros. Campaign mode. Well, if you want it, what if the campaign mode is more of like an action side view game? What if they made the next Smash Brothers kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for example? That'd be cool. or like a Metroidvania, which is not too different from Subspace Emissary. Connor. Okay, listen, I don't know why Pizza Tower did not win Best Indie Debut Game of the Year instead of Cocoon won it like Pizza Tower's like Wario Land 4, but much better. So why didn't it win? I don't know. I didn't play Pizza Tower. I'm sorry. I have no idea. Maybe we should play Pizza Tower, though. Maybe not enough people played it, and that's why. Opinions. Sometimes it's tough to... People just feel a certain way about something, and that's just what it is. Ricky Lee Norton. Yeah, getting Smash 64 added at 64 Online would be a great way to celebrate its 25th anniversary. It's so funny because I was just about to say that right as you said it. Cool. Great minds think alike. RJ Correa. Smash 64 would definitely be a delight, but given the games Nintendo sometimes adds to Nintendo Online, it could be half and half. Wilbur First Booster, exactly. A full action game. Maybe just Smash inspired. I don't know, but I will say that Nashville did talk about how there was this experiment for a Mario game that took place in different worlds, which a lot of people took to maybe be related to 3D Mario. But what if it's related to an action game that's that's actually Smash based and it's just taking place in different universes? Like, think about it. There's a lot of like brawlers. Think about the different brawlers where they're like side view action, like there's even some Marvel ones that include different characters. Like they could, what if they were to do like a side brawler, like that's like a Smash spinoff? That would be cool. Kick it smooth. Kick it smooth. If there's any new Smash content anytime soon, it'll be for a Ultimate port on Switch 2. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. I think that makes sense. Connor, if we get a new Smash Bros. Game, do you think they'll finally add Waluigi, Bandana Waluigi, and Geno in Smash? Well, I'll say that Geno has more of a claim than ever with the recent remake. But so does, what's his face? Mallow. So maybe they'd be like a combo character or something. Waluigi, maybe someday he actually makes it in. Bandana Waddle-Dee. I mean, he is playable in a lot of Kirby games, including recently Forgotten Land. He has a moveset. I guess the thing about Waddle-Dee is that maybe... The thing about Bandana Waddle-Dee and Waluigi is that Sakura may look at those characters and be like, oh, those are really cool characters for assist trophies. Like, they have movesets, people like them, but they're not as fleshed out, and so they may not be as interesting of a character. So I don't know if it's guaranteed for those. It's not a guarantee for Geno either. But, and I'm not saying that they can't make it. I would say that it's a conversation worth having. But I am not committed to them making it in. If anything, I would think that jeez, I forgot his name already. Noah and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Maybe Akira from Astral Chain. That's a character I'd kind of put in that conversation. It may be another Pokemon character. So what's the starters this time? We have the Crocodile. Hey, Florida, right? We have the dancing pelican. It's not even a pelican. I don't know what you call it. Dancing water thing. I forgot their names. Shows you how much I've been playing Pokemon lately. And then the grass one. Oh, Meowscarada. Meowscarada. We need a grass starter. I think Meowscarada would be a really cool Pokemon for a new Smash game. Wilberforce Booster. Who's the most likely Paper Mario 1000 Year OG character likely to be added to Smash? I'm going to say none. But I also didn't play 1000 Year Door, and I'm really looking forward to the remake. So maybe when I play the remake, I'll be like, hey, this should be it. So I just don't know. I'll have to go play it. to say. I can't really speak on it. Anyway. Super Chris, we do have Ivysaur, but Ivysaur is part of Pokemon Trainer. There's already several fire starters. And we already have Greninja as a water starter. We don't have a standalone. Yes, exactly. We need a standalone grass starter, I would say. Lex234. Do we have a release date yet for Princess Peach? I know we're both excited about that. I thought we did. We know it's March, right? Princess Peach Showtime. I thought we had a release date. Yeah, we do. March 2022. March 2022, 2024. By the way, another reason why I've doubted Switch 2 coming out so early is because, I don't think it comes out until at least April. So, like, Princess Peach Showtime, like, that's coming out in March. Like, I don't think Nintendo wants to take away from that release. And I also think April's pretty early. So I'm not saying April's... I'm not saying in April. I'm just saying, sometime after March next year is when it should come out. So, my voice is getting a little sore here. Q&As in general aren't as long. But I do want to talk a little bit about kind of the Game Awards. And I'm curious how you guys feel. So we're closing out. So if there's any final questions or things you want me to talk about, please send it to me in the comments below. I'm reaching the end here, and I will prioritize super chats. I may not get to every question, but I'm happy that Tears of the Kingdom won Best Action Adventure. I'm happy that Pikmin 4 won Best Strategy Game. I'm happy that Mario Wonder won Best Family Game. To me, I actually feel that's solid. Like, those are the 3 best games Nintendo came out this year that are brand new, because Metroid Prime Remastered is also really good. And so is Future Redeemed, but that's DLC. But anyways, in terms of brand new standalone titles, those 3 games, I would say, are the best that came out this year from Nintendo. And I'm very happy that they each won their own respective category. Now, I think Tears of the Kingdom would be deserving of Game of the Year, but I also understand why they went with Baldur's Gate 3. There is more of that story there. It is a little bit more of a shift for the industry. Tears of the Kingdom is maybe less of a shift. It's a marvel. A lot of developers are just completely like flabbergasted by what was accomplished in Tears of the Kingdom from a technology perspective on the Switch. But that doesn't necessarily translate over to other developers who are going to emulate this. And a lot of people are like, whoa, this is a new standard for Zelda. It's just kind of like, okay, this is Tears of the Kingdom. It's different from Breath of the Wild, but it's also the same. And I think all those things kind of impact its ability to win Game of the Year. It's my personal Game of the Year, Tears of the Kingdom. But I understand Baldur's Gate 3 winning. I'm not mad about that in any way. But I kind of say that because you would think, well, why do you have to say you were mad about it? Because a lot of people accuse me of being mad about it. This goes back to the whole comments thing where some people are just really toxic and accusing me of nonsense. Like, I'm not mad about it. I'm the Tears of the Kingdom fan, so I'm going to root for Tears of the Kingdom. Like, that's just what it is. But I have no ill will towards Baldur's Gate 3. I plan on trying Baldur's Gate 3 eventually. I think it's a good game. I want to give it a try. Will I get around to it? Eventually. I don't know when, but eventually I probably will. So, like, it's just kind of weird how after the Game Awards, there's been kind of this increased level of toxicity. And this does tend to happen after, let's say, critical points in the year where people are expecting a lot of Nintendo news. And, so from my perspective, I'm going to continue to do what I do. This is what I do. I'm not going to stop doing what I do. But I don't think I mislead people in any way, shape, or form. I tell people what I think. I explain why I think what I think. I provide sources. When a video is longer and there's more subjects, I put in timestamps. I try to be reasonable. And I always say, hey, take this with a grain of salt. This is why I think this is happening. I don't know if it's happening. And I would say, I'm not saying I'm always right, but I'm also not always wrong. And so it's a little bit frustrating about this Game Awards situation. Like, I'm just trying to look at, I actually felt I was being a bit cautious this time. I didn't make any prediction videos. I made a few speculation videos and, talking points. Right? Oh, could this happen? Yeah, I did that. I made a video talking, hey, could there be a Zelda remake announced at the Game Awards? I did that. I did make a video talking about could Metroid Prime 4 be at the Game Awards. I did that. Why? Because those are things that people were hoping for. They were things that were being discussed. So I made videos having that conversation. But if you watch the video, I say they are possibilities, but they aren't my bet. They aren't guaranteed. And I talk about, hey, we may get something at the Game Awards, but it may not be what you expect. History suggests we'll get something. And so, like I don't think I'm being misleading, right? I try not to clickbait. Like obviously, when I make a video, I want it to be clicked because yes, this is a business, right? I want it to be viewed, but I try to be as forthcoming and transparent as possible, which is why at the beginning of every video, I kind of explain what I'm talking about. That's why I say this is what we're talking about today, because I want people to know, hey, you clicked on this video, this is what it's about. So if you clicked on it and you thought it was something else, this is what it's about. I think it's interesting. You can stay if you want. You can leave if you want. I don't care. So, it's just weird. Like, I made one video the day before the Game Awards that's titled Nintendo Announcements Teased for Tomorrow. And so I talked about Pokemon DLC news. Nintendo said, hey, there's going to be DLC news. And there was. That's the third. It was a third of the video. That was the starting point. The next point was about Pyoro, who has never been wrong before. And when I talked about Pyoro, I said, hey, this seems like it's probably for the Game Awards, but it's possible it's not. He's not saying for the Game Awards. And so while I was saying there's a great chance it could be at the Game Awards, I also said it might not be. And it wasn't. It hasn't even been announced yet. So maybe some people think that that's like fake news. Pyoro's never been wrong before. Let's see what happens this week, right? Like, let's see what happens this week. And if there's still nothing, then that becomes a talking point about Pyoro being wrong. But it wasn't promised for the Game Awards. And then the third thing I talked about was speculation from Nashweedle, which, by the way, was actually correct, but it wasn't clear what it was. There was a Toon Link, like from Wind Waker GIF, so there was some talk about that, but I never said, I think for sure Wind Waker HD is going to be there. I didn't. I pointed out there was like a 3 from Nashweedle, and I said all of this was debatable, right? Like I wasn't saying for sure any of this was happening. And it turned out Nintendo announced 3 N64 games for Nintendo Switch Online at the same time, which they've never done before, during the award show, but not at the award show. So technically Nintendo didn't have an announcement at the award show, but there were announcements on December 7th. There was the Pokemon stuff, there was the Smash Anniversary stuff, and then there was 3 N64 games on the NSO announced during the award show, just not at the award show. It was weird, but there were announcements. And so the title of the video is Nintendo Announcements Teased for Tomorrow, and there were Nintendo announcements in the award show, but people have been like, hey, you promised. I didn't promise squat. And it wasn't like it was the information we talked about was inaccurate. It's just, hey, there's different things going on. Some of this may happen. Some of this may not happen. I mean, maybe it's just because people really wanted Wind Waker HD or something, and that didn't happen. But that wasn't even a prediction of mine. And if it was, it's a prediction. I'm not promising anything. So I guess, to me, I'm kind of complaining right now because a lot of people kind of like complaining. But what's weird is that that's the only video I made in like over a week about the Game Awards. Everything else is completely different topics. And it's just kind of weird that there are people like doing this. And so my interpretation is, because I've tried to be careful, right? Like I try not to clickbait. I warn people. I explain things. And again, I don't even think I was necessarily that wrong, right? But what I kind of feel, like from my perspective, and I'm curious what you guys think in the chat, I'm going to be looking what you guys have to say on this. I kind of just feel that, like, it's not just me, but just in general, right? You see a lot of rumor posts, Twitter posts, social media posts, videos hyping up these different things. And so it's kind of like all Nintendo creators and journalists are all kind of cobbled together, and there's this excitement and energy going to the Game Awards, and people are hoping, can we get this and that? And then when it doesn't happen, people are going to get scapegoated. People are going to be attacked. And so I think there's just a lot of people that went into the award show with really high expectations, didn't get what they wanted, or maybe they had mid expectations and they didn't get what they wanted. And so now we're kind of seeing the fallout, where there's this increased level of toxicity and negativity in the comments. And I notice this tends to happen every time there's a major event. And, there have been times where I've gotten really excited about stuff and maybe I have gone overboard and, I've tried to learn from those situations. But there are times where I've tried to be really cautious, and yet the fallout still happens. the negativity's still there. It's just like it's unavoidable. And so that's kind of unfortunate. It's unfortunate. That's just what it is. Like, I guess maybe, some people are upset because there was literally no announcement at the award show, and history suggests otherwise. And so that there's a little bit of that. But effectively, there was still comparable news. It just didn't happen at the award show. It was just around the award show on the same day. I don't know. I just think it's weird. I wish people were better at tempering their expectations. Like, I think it's cool to get excited about things, but just because we get excited about things doesn't mean that, when we don't get what we want, that it's the end of the world. It's weird. Something else I wanted to say on this. Don't remember what. Slipped my mind. But let's check the chat. Let me see what you guys have to say. Let's see what you guys have to say on this. Watchdog, they be trolling. That may be what it is. Lex 234. I don't think you clickbait at all. You're super upfront, and if something is a rumor, you make it clear in the title, and I've always felt this way about your content. I appreciate that. Thank you. Snicksack. People are just rude and weird and illogical. Pay them no mind. Joycey J. My thing is, if Nintendo doesn't say it, I consider it speculation. Fun conversation, rumors, that's it. I agree. Netweed09. I mean, I've had my fair share of arguments on those Tears of the Kingdom is $70 DLC contrarian channels, lol, but I feel those opinions were plain dismissive and biased and many times misinformative. Okay. The Emma52. Don't listen to the haters, Andres. The internet is full of trolls with nothing better to do than nitpick or make stuff up. Okay, I appreciate that. Let's see here. Zaladu, I blame you. That's dumb, lacking maturity. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm willing to take criticism, so like that's something like, hey, if there's something that maybe I could have done slightly different, I'm open to that. I try to be upfront, but I talk about rumors. I talk about rumors. I make theory videos. Like that's what I do. So I'm not going to stop doing that. But if there's a better way to convey that, then, and I feel like I've gotten better at conveying that, but it is what it is. Netweed09. Yep, most sensible channels never say they are pushing stone cold facts anyway. If people get the upset about those, really, they should just not even be clicking outside of reveal trailer videos. Lord Alduin. It says more about the commenter than you. Okay. So it feels like a lot of you are all on the same page here on this. And I guess, we just got to be cautious, right? We got to be cautious about these events, but we can still get excited about them. It's not, doesn't mean all doom and gloom. I didn't watch the Game Awards show, and I think, like, I was actually kind of talking about, like, hey, like, don't watch the award show waiting for announcements. If you're just waiting for announcements, maybe just keep your notifications tab open, right? Or like, check your phone occasionally or what have you. But don't watch like the Game Awards waiting for Nintendo announcements, because that's where you're kind of putting yourself in a position to be disappointed. Because I've been through that back-to-back years, man. It's just, that's where it gets rough. But like, if you're just watching the award show because you want to see maybe other game announcements overall, or you're just looking forward to seeing how things go, then that's cool. And I'll say, I actually enjoyed, even though I didn't watch the award show, I enjoyed, I liked seeing some of the announcements. The Sega stuff is really cool. So we're getting Crazy Taxi. There's a few other games like that. That to me is pretty exciting. Monster Hunter Wilds, I'm very excited for that. That to me, that was a huge reveal. That to me, that was like, oh yeah, that's just a great final world premiere. I was really excited about that one. And also, Visions of Mana. I'm not a Mana fan, but the game looks really pretty. And it's kind of interesting because I sort of feel that the Sega games, Visions of Mana and Monster Hunter Wild, are all gonna, yeah, Wilds. I think all those games are gonna come to Switch too. I don't know that, but I think they will. And apparently, the Mana games have been big on Switch this last generation. So people are actually kind of like wondering, like, hey, they didn't announce this for Switch. That's odd, but it's coming on the summer. So does that mean for Switch too? Right? Like, so there's a little bit of a conversation there. But of course, just because Visions of Mana is coming out this next summer, and maybe they're gonna have a Switch 2 version eventually, that doesn't mean Switch 2 is gonna be out before summer and Visions of Mana is gonna be ready for Switch 2 day and date. They may delay that for later. Of course, at the same time, Switch 2 can come out in the summer. Visions of Mana may also come out in the summer, but it doesn't mean Visions of Mana for Switch 2 will be available then, and that still may come out later. So there's still a lot of like ways to interpret that. But anyways, I liked a lot of the announcements. I think that the show had some good stuff, actually. Like for me, it was pretty cool, even though it wasn't like dedicated Nintendo stuff. It was cool stuff, and a lot of this stuff may end up on Switch 2 in the future. We'll see. It's not guaranteed, but I feel pretty good about them. Kick it smooth. As long as you don't put huge leaks in every title and thumbnail, you're good. What about some titles and thumbnails? I think it depends. Like, so for example, remember when the storybook for Tears of the Kingdom was leaked? That was a literal huge leak. Like, I think that one's okay, right? So it depends. Case by case basis. And I'll also say, just me, right? And maybe it's just because of the audience I've cultivated with you guys, right? And like how you pay attention to things. But when I put rumor, I don't really feel like leak draws in more views than rumor. Like, to me, that doesn't seem to make a difference. Like, I haven't done like a hard analysis on the analytics, but just kind of my subjective point of view. I don't think putting rumor in the title versus leak necessarily makes a difference. I think ultimately it just comes down to, is the subject matter interesting? Is this something people care about right now? And so I'll say, today I posted a video on Smash Brothers. Maybe I could have done better with the title or the thumbnail. Maybe the timing was off. Like, those are all possibilities. But I think in general, like, the video's not doing well for my standards. It may grow over time. I'm not trying to complain. I'm simply stating that sometimes it's just about like the times and the subject matter. So if I were to make a Tears of the Kingdom video tomorrow, and I kind of am, but it's going to be more just about Zelda as a whole. But if I were to make just a dedicated like Tears of the Kingdom theory video, it probably won't do as well now as it would have done, say, 5 months ago. Like, it just won't. And so right now with Smash Brothers, there's not that much Smash conversation going on right now. So that may be why the Smash video is currently my worst performing video out of the last few weeks. Maybe even more so. That can change, but sometimes it's just about subject matters. My main point here, like, if people care about the topic, and why they care about the topic could just be about trending topics or just because it's interesting, that seems to matter more than huge leaks or big rumor or like I can't believe, like, I don't know, right? Like, however people choose to like put it there. So it's interesting, but I actually don't think saying huge leaks even matter. For me, it's just trying to convey what's going on in a title without being too long about it, because you can only say so much in a title. I'm trying to like the YouTube chat is being weird with me. How do I? Okay, there we go. I fixed it. AB James, a new Warriors game could also be in the pipeline, maybe even a 2024 release. Warriors games are always in the pipeline, so I agree with that one. AB James, is Mario vs. Donkey Kong a day one pickup for anyone? I don't know. I feel like the price tag's a little high. I'm not sure. Kick it smooth. What matters is that there's a distinction between rumors, leaks, and speculation. Some creators call everything leaks to bring in views, then immediately downplay it to a rumor. So I will say, I've definitely personally struggled with, should I deem something a leak or a rumor? Because sometimes, like how do we define, like, what is the proper definition for what a leak is versus for what a rumor is? Like, because, for example, do we call the Video Games Chronicle and Eurogamer report to Switch 2 coming out next year a leak? Because it's a report, right? Like, it can be a report and a leak, right? But or can it? These are reputable news sites. Most of the industry respects and believes. Not everyone, right? There's always different opinions, but a lot of people take them seriously. So they report this. So do we call? But it's information that doesn't want out yet. So do we call that a leak? But then, if we call that a leak, like, what's the difference between that and a rumor? Rumor is something we heard, right? Like, that's the like literal definition of rumor is something you heard. It's something you heard. You're not sure if it's true or not. That's a rumor. I guess, there are some things like, so another example. Remember when the Tears of the Kingdom OLED edition was leaked? Literally this time last year, like maybe a few days before the new year, right? So it was late December. There were images that came out for the Tears of the Kingdom OLED. And so that was a leak. We know it to be a leak now. But before we knew it was a leak for sure, like, do we still call it a leak? Because it appears to be a leak? Or is it a rumor? And so, like, sometimes I might use the wording possible leak. Because it may have been leaked, but it's not guaranteed to be leaked. So, that's kind of like what I feel is a little bit of it's tough sometimes to kind of put the proper word for what something is. Joyce J. Rumor. A report. He said, she said. Sources versus leak. Tears of the Kingdom art book. So is it maybe better to say that when we have like something that looks to be tangible information, like literal, like visual material, like if it's visual material, that's obviously a leak. But if it's just something we're hearing from somebody, do we just call that a rumor? Hey, hearing from somebody that we're not sure it's true or not, that's the textbook definition of a rumor. So maybe that's what it is. But as Watchdog says here, technically things can only retroactively be called leaks then. Trustfly. I think a leak is more nuanced because a leak could be a rumor where a report is confirmed. Yeah. I mean, I think if I say a rumor, right, like just in terms, like for my sake, if I just say rumor, that's more clear. Like if you say a rumor, it's a safer word. Rumor is a safer word than leak. And leak, I think there's a little bit of a connotation of like, even though there is a difference in definition, I would say, I think that if we're talking about like in terms of suggesting the likelihood of being true, leak is definitely more impactful than rumor. And so maybe from that perspective, that's why a lot of people want to put in leaks, because it seems to suggest, hey, this is more truthful. But then you enter a scenario where the boy who cried wolf, if you continue to call something a leak, then it's tough, right? But like, so for me, right, in the past, what I've tried to do, I'll put like a question mark in the title, or I'll put like quotes, right? Like I'll put quotes around a word, because that suggests that there's a little bit more to that word than just face value. So that there's different, like I try and always put something in there that says, hey, there's something to this, but it's not necessarily exactly as what you may think. So that's what I try to do. I try to be I'm very intentional about my word choices and punctuation for my titles. Let's just say that. So if you see a quote around a word, there's something to that it's intentional. It's not just there for fluff. AB James. So I just checked out the Super Metal Dave new vid, and he showed a close up of the Samus silhouette Prime 4 concept art. It is the exact same Saints of Her and Prime 1 in the various suit. Yes, it is. I am not sure if that just means they're going to use the exact same model. Something tells me that this concept art, which by the way we call concept art, it's just art that they use for the Metroid Prime 4 hiring, sort of like hiring campaign. It's not officially concept art for Metroid Prime 4, is my point. We like to call it that. But what's interesting is that I looked at that image, and I kind of get the sense that that's basically like they took the Metroid Prime model. Like, look at my thumbnail for this video, right? Like, for this live stream. I changed the colors around to kind of match like the blue hue, but that is the same. That is a model of Metroid Prime. That's from Metroid Prime Remastered. And I guess what I'm getting at here is that I think it's like literally, not using literally in a figurative way. All the irony there, like literally, Metroid, like that. It looks like the exact same model. So I kind of wonder if this art we've seen is maybe just kind of like an amalgamation of Metroid stuff, and they wanted to use it to hype up Metroid Prime 4, but it's not necessarily Samus's design that she'll have in Prime 4. I think it might be her design in Prime 4, and if not exactly that, something similar. But I guess what I'm getting at here is that I don't want to put too much stock into the design there, because it may just be a rip from the initial Metroid Prime, and it's an amalgamation to kind of promote the hiring of Metroid Prime 4, but it's not necessarily showing us exactly how Samus is going to look in Prime 4. I see here we have a super chat from a friend, Lunatunes. How you doing, buddy? Will Metroid Prime 4 have melee counter combat? Well, I think you know that I don't have a solid answer on that. Well, I mean, sometimes I don't have a solid answer on it. But what do I think? I think, yeah, I think they should. Metroid Dread has, I mean, the 2D Metroid games have it, right? But also, you look at all of the hirings that they've made for Retro Studios, they've hired talent that's from different developers that were for other first-person shooter games or action-adventure games that have melee attacks in first person. So I think they should. I think it's a very modern thing. I think it's a modern component to a lot of first-person games. So even if we didn't have the job hiring suggesting, so even if we didn't have the 2D Metroid games that do it already, just thinking about a first-person game for modern standards, odds are there's going to be a melee attack. So I would say there's a high chance that this is going to happen. Man, like, it would just be cool to just have Samus's arm cannon, which always seems like a meaty, tough thing to have, and just like use it. Like, imagine using it to parry things away. Like, that would be cool. Like, use it not just to like hit things in front of you, and like maybe there's cobwebs you get caught in, so you just like use it to shake things off. Like, that would feel immersive. But also, like, if you see a beam attack, you could literally boom, like reflect it away. So I love the idea of having this. Love it. And heck, maybe they can even, like, it can even cause a stun on enemies in front of you. So if you do that, you can then enter like a brief third-person mode where it's kind of like Metroid Other M is a good example, where there are moments where you could kind of stun an enemy and then go into like a really cool cinematic where you grapple an enemy down and suplex them or throw them and do some sort of cool attack on them where you blast them in the face. Like, it would be cool if you can stun enemies and then briefly add third person to do some sort of stun. Think like Resident Evil 4, where you can stun enemies and then do a suplex or some sort of roundhouse kick or something like that. It would be cool if they were to do that, and it's kind of a combo that extends off stunning an enemy with your parry attack. So the parry attack, as I've discussed, has a variety of implications, not just hitting an enemy in front of you like you would do it in Halo back in the day, but you can use it to ward off objects like cobwebs or leaves or something like branches. but you could use it to parry attacks flying at you. You can use it to stun enemies. Like, there is a lot of applications here that would add to immersion and the variety of gameplay and streamline movement as well. So in other words, it makes the game a lot better if they do it in the way I'm describing. Maybe they have better ideas, but I think it would be a really cool thing to implement for this game. It would add to the immersion, which is what Metroid Prime is all about. Immersion, bringing you in, making the world feel more tangible, believable. So I'm all aboard. I think melee counter combat for combat should be in Prime 4. Then it just says here, stop teasing us, share with us what you know. I just want to say that I don't know that much, right? I don't know that much, and if I know something, I tell you guys. The only time I won't say anything is if what I say can potentially compromise some information someone may have shared with me in the past, and that's not a lot. It is not a lot. It's not a lot. I've told you. I've said everything I can, and I'm not trying to like act like I have a whole bunch of inside secret. I don't. It's a very, very occasional thing. And so I just want to be clear on that. Yeah. And most of what I talk about is speculation, and I try to make that clear. Yeah. Wilberforce, you say that she might not want to bash things around with her arm cannon, but as Captain Doge counters, like she does in the 2D games. So, maybe it could change, right? Like maybe when you press the melee button, Samus's arm cannon changes into like a club or something like that. Like it morphs very quickly when you do that. So it kind of, it's built around being able to do that. Venetus just whispered in my ear. There's not. I can't. There's not much. It really isn't. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really help with anything, in terms of your understanding of Prime 4. So, Joyce J. Andre secretly works for Nintendo. I live in Florida. They don't have anything in Florida. I'm a Florida man, remember? They're in Seattle. Bro, but it would be kind of cool to visit Austin, Texas, because apparently Retro Studios is hiring for there, and no, that doesn't mean Metroid Prime 4 is canceled or delayed. All right. So let's end the poll. I think I'm gonna bring the stream to a close. So this is it. We're closing out here, guys. So any final things at me, super chat, send it now. If I see something, I'll try and get to it. But we're closing out here. I'm ending the poll. So I put this poll up 56 minutes ago. We got 78 votes. I asked, do you guys think Metroid Prime 4 can win Game of the Year? And I know YouTube does this weird round down thing, but 72% said yes, 28% said no. So a lot of you do think Metroid Prime 4 can win Game of the Year. Fingers crossed it happens. It occurs to me, though, that the 20% that said no, I did say Game of the Year 2024. So maybe that 20% that said no isn't so much, not all, I'm sure some of you it's just because you don't think it would win. But some of you may have just said that no because, well, game might not even be available in 2024, so therefore it can't win Game of the Year 2024, which, doesn't necessarily mean you don't think it can't win, hypothetically. Of course, that was the implication. Snick Sacks in the Seattle area. Well, we're gonna need you to sneak in. Joyce J, you live close to Austin. We're gonna need you to sneak in too. Niche Quick Pops, you're in Texas as well. Listen, all of you guys need to put on your ninja attire, blend in with the fellow Nintendo ninjas, get into Retro Studios, get into Nintendo at Seattle, and find out what's going on. Get into your Regibots and find out. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Do not do that. Do not do anything illegal. I do not condone that. This is not a hint. Do not do it. It is unhealthy. But sometimes I do kind of wish one of us could sneak into Nintendo and be like, oh, what is this? The Metroid Prime 4 blueprints. This is it. So this is how 3D Mario looks. Ah, so Nintendo does know what the story is going to be for Tears of the Kingdom 3. Right? Like, yeah, you know, I'd love it. But it's illegal. Don't do it. They also have security. They won't let you. I'm sure someone has wanted to do this before. The jokes have existed for years. I'm sure someone somewhere actually tried doing it. Niche Quick Pops. I've been to their parking lot. So you did try to sneak into Retro Studios, Niche Quick. Did you try and peek into a window? Did you see that 4K 60 FPS beautiful Prime 4 running on the Switch 2 right next to the Ocarina of Time remake poster? Did you see that? Yeah. I would love to go to Texas though. Texas is fun. I don't know. I was there for a day once. It was like a one of those in between days for a flight. I would love to go to Texas for a while. Texas would be cool. Maybe visit Retro Studios. Hey, Retro Studios, if anyone's watching, there's any connection to Retro Studios, I'm not asking for leaks. I'm not asking for rumors. But if one of you wanted to invite me in to maybe when the Metroid Prime 4 marketing campaign starts, if you want to invite me in to play the game, to talk about with everyone, I would love to do that. Just letting you know, and I would be very respectful. So, just saying, I would love that. Anyways, guys, it's been a fun stream, but I haven't eaten dinner. So I think it would be best for me to call it a night. But I'm having a lot of fun. Like, I don't even want to leave, but I got to save my voice. I got to make the video for tomorrow. I got to get ready, get the debate for tomorrow. So guys, get ready. Tomorrow is going to be crazy. All right, at least I hope it will be, because we're doing a Switch 2 debate. Me, hopefully Rob from Rule of Two Review. He's got work stuff, but he may make it. Versus Bo and Tucker. 2v2. 2024 versus 2025. Team 24 versus Team 25. When will Switch 2 come out? We're having the debate tomorrow. The plan is going to be, this is subject to change. I haven't ironed out all the details, but it's not going to be a Q&A, right? So I'm not going to be interacting with the chat as much. There will be a little bit. I'm not saying there won't be. When we start, I'll do a little bit. But once the debate starts, what I'm going to do, similar to how I had a poll up for a lot of this Q&A, I'm going to put up the poll so people can be voting 2024, 2025. And I want you guys to be listening, right? I'll put in your take in the chat for sure. But I want you to be listening and be open-minded and be like, oh, he made a great point. Let's vote 2025. Oh, Rob made a really good point. You know what? I changed my mind again. 2024. So what I kind of want, I want there to be a back and forth, and I want people to change their votes based off kind of what they're thinking, because I want to use the poll as kind of like a measure for how the debate is going throughout the live stream. And then when the live stream ends, I'll do some Q&A, and I'll have like each of us can like answer like a question or two to close things out. And that's kind of the plan for tomorrow. Rob's not guaranteed for tomorrow, by the way. That's why I said maybe. I'm hoping he can make it, but he might not be able to. I think you could change votes. I'm assumed yet. Okay, you know what? Let's test this right now before I call it a night. Can you change your vote in this poll? This is a little meta. Let me know. I'm putting it up now. Let me know. Can you change the vote? I thought you. I thought no. Yes. Maybe. I can't vote, so I don't know. No. So you can't. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, now I'm glad now I know that, so we can't do that. But this is what we can do. What we can do, and this would make the chat really kind of crazy, right? So you don't have to lock in, right? You can choose to lock in. You're not. That we'll leave that up to everyone watching. But what we can do is we can in the chat tomorrow. You know, every time you hear a point that makes you kind of think of that, like every time you hear a point from someone, it's like, oh, that's a really good point for 2025. You just type 2025 in the chat. Or if you have a really good point for 2024, you type 2024 in the chat. And so, like, you can put in your vote whenever you want, but the 2025 thing, that's just kind of, oh, good point, Zalato. That's a great idea. I'll just renew the poll every 30 minutes. That's fantastic. So that way you can cast your vote, and if your mind changes, you can recast it later. That's a fantastic way to make this work. And then we could still do the chat thing where if you hear a point that you feel like supports one side or the other, put 2024, 2025. We're going to make it a game. We're going to make it fun. Let's hype this up. It may just be me versus two others tomorrow. We'll see. But regardless, it's going to be a good time. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, guys, I'll end this poll now. I'm glad we tested that, so that way I don't say something dumb tomorrow for the debate. I said something done now instead. That's okay. But I think it's going to be good. So it's going to be fun. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you could leave a like, that'd be very much appreciated. But tomorrow's going to be a good time, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.